What is the level of trust in Israeli businesses and institutions? What are the public expectations from businesses in Israel in 2020? Each year, Maala conducts the GlobeScan radar in Israel, done in Israel by Rotem AR. And here is a quick snapshot of the outcomes that we saw quite recently in November 2020. First, let's start with the significant issues facing the state of Israel according to the Israeli public. Here we see socioeconomic issues on top. This is very consistent with what we saw in previous years. What has changed dramatically is the decrease in the importance of security issues that were on top in previous years, a little higher than socioeconomic issues. That security issue has gone sideways, you might say, and socioeconomic issues are the top, much higher than COVID. We do not see climate change. We do not see environmental issues mentioned. That is consistent with what we saw in previous years. The level of trust in Israel in institutions, we'll start with businesses, is quite high. Businesses are enjoying a considerable, I would say, leverage of trust. Academia is at the top. NGOs are behind them. The bad news, you might say, is that the level of trust in the Israeli government has dropped, has decreased considerably at about 50% compared to 2019, as well as a further decrease in level of trust towards the media. The level of trust in business sectors, however, has increased quite dramatically. We've seen increase in trust towards all business sectors. Most, I would say notably, are the retail, supermarkets, and the food and beverage sector. You might say that it complements the fact that both those sectors were quite important, quite essential during the more difficult stages of COVID with lockdowns in Israel. Both those sectors have met public expectations in terms of ongoing supply and delivering what they're supposed to do. Let's look at what the public expects in terms of specific business sectors. What are the significant issues in each sector? We can start with the high-tech. The high-tech, as we saw, enjoys a very high level of trust in Israel, and complements that is the fact that the Israeli public expects those sectors to contribute to developing, to innovating solutions for better quality of life and better security. There's a very strong sense of purpose here, which, as we said, complements the high level of trust. In food, as we've mentioned before, there's a high level of trust this year, but there's a decrease in the expectation in terms of health food. We have heard it from numerous food and beverage companies that there was some channeling towards comfort food. We have seen the rise in previous years of health issues in the food and beverage sectors. We expect that will return once COVID hopefully will go sidelines. In the retail sector, there's a slight change, but quite notable. For years, that sector has been dominated by pricing. This year, pricing is still on top. However, there's quite a considerable decrease, and instead there's an increase in expectations towards better service, experience in shopping, quality of services. Again, we expect that it is linked to COVID and its effect on daily life. Banking pricing is quite high. There are also questions of fairness and service, which was notable, or more specifically, the question of ongoing service during COVID was quite noted, and we can see that here as well. Pharma, which also enjoys a very high level of trust. The most important issue is innovation. Again, we see that sense of purpose, of finding new drugs, new solutions for illnesses. COVID, obviously, is very high here. There's also quite high on the agenda question of fairness and integrity towards the customer. Finally, the insurance sector. The insurance sector, unfortunately, enjoys a very low level of trust in Israel. And we see that the major issues here are measures of pricing, issues of quality and efficient service and reliability and fairness, a challenge that sector, it seems, needs to work stronger, harder on. Finally, what do the Israeli public expects in terms of corporate giving, of corporate philanthropy? In previous years, we have seen increase in expectations to, I would say, create a better society in Israel. This year, again, probably because of COVID, we see an expectation to help those in needs, to deliver food, to help the elderly, to help people with disabilities, to help undeserved population. It's immediate, I would say, and basic needs that we see here mentioned. And all in all, I think that the business sector, especially during the severe phases of COVID, has met those expectations. So this was kind of a quick overview on public expectations and trust in business. You're more than welcome to be in touch with us in Maala for further and deeper dive into the data that we have. Thank you.